Hello and welcome to Morven Park International. I'm excited to be here. I'm Annie Bishop and I'm joined by course designer Derek DiGrazia. Derek, thank you for being here.
Yes, it's great to be here.
The course looks incredible as always. Is there anything new that you've done this year?
Oh, there's quite a lot on the course. The course this year is the distance is 5,895 meters, 10 minutes and 21 seconds for the time, and all the combinations are different than what they were last year, and we have some other interesting new single jumps as well that have been placed around the course.
That's terribly exciting. So Morven celebrating their 50th anniversary of eventing here at Morven, and I'm not sure you remember the first time you were at Morven Park.
No, I don't. It was that long ago.
Well, that is good, and I think it's a testament to how great the ground here is and the terrain that we keep coming back here year after year. Tell us why the ground is so special here to design for.
Well, I mean, the terrain here is just for eventing in the U.S. The terrain is amazing here. It's got great features for setting jumps, and again, they take such good care of the turf here on a year-round basis that it makes it really one of the special places to be for eventing.
That's incredible. And this is one of only 6 four-star longs in the country. Why should people come here? I mean, I think besides the terrain, but this seems like it would be a great place to set a horse up for, future plans for next year.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that a horse is going to get a great education here, not only with the terrain, but the variety of jumps using the terrain, and also all the other facilities are such great facilities with their all-weather arenas here. It couldn't be a better place to have a long format of competition or any kind of horse trial, really.
That's great. It's calling for rain on Saturday. How much of a factor do you think a big bucketing of rain will make on this turf?
Well, obviously the ground can use some rain because there hasn't been that much rain this year. The going I think it's quite good right now, and I think that with the amount of rain we're expecting, which isn't really a huge amount, I think it should make it actually quite good.
That's incredible. Are there any particular combinations on the course that you think are going to be rider frighteners that they may be losing a little bit of sleep over?
Well, I always say, with these courses, and I like to think of it this way, that it's not really one of the combinations, but it's sort of the cumulative effect of all of the combinations and the placement of the jumps throughout the course, and that the riders really have to make sure they keep their concentration from start to finish.
That's great. Any last advice for riders as they set out on Saturday morning?
I tell you, I just always hope they go out, they ride responsibly, they have a fun time, and and really at the end of it, just have a great weekend.
That's great. Well, Derek, thank you for being here, and we look forward to seeing you all over the weekend here at Morven Park International.
I'm here at 4A and B, so you've had 3 fences to get going on the 4-star long here at Morven. Off a big table, kind of down a hill, and then uphill to this log, kind of a hanging log into the water, although you do land on the grass, which is quite nice. This has been here for a while, this log, and it generally jumps pretty nicely, which is a nice first water fence for the four long horses. Particularly a lot of these tend to be a little bit younger horses sometimes. Quite a nice question. Landing through here, I think you're going to see every kind of stride you can come up with. I think that the horses will land a little bit shallow, a little bit more shallow than you might expect. Coming quite uphill over that, and they're going to be a bit surprised at the top, I think, and want to put down relatively quickly here. So I think you'll definitely be landing on the grass. Put your first stride pretty well out into the water, and this is the most important stride of the whole combination, is that this stride is the one where people tend to lose their balance. So this stride here is going to be really important. So 4 across there, but I think again 4, I don't think you're going to want to be hanging around. I think make sure you're where you need to be and then get moving pretty quick. This log here to this water jump, pretty big hanging log. It's quite nice on there, although when you get to the landing site, it gets a little bit bigger. Sometimes landing in the water for the second time surprises, particularly the younger horses. So I think just with riders, the greener riders especially, just knowing that you got to attack the second one almost a bit more than you would the first one. And as you're doing that, you need to be looking at the C element, which is actually a little tricky to see behind the 2-star. So with your eye here, landing here, and being really good with your upper body, you're going to land and just kind of steady them in the water. Make sure you keep them on their feet as you're kind of finding your way to the C element. And then this hill here is a little tiny bit steep, so you just want to be careful. You keep your horse's balance and you keep your own balance. Kind of get up on the grass and sort of see it from down there. But a lot of times coming up the water there, out of the water onto that grass, your distance can change. How you get to this, if you're on an angle or straight or an opposite angle, I think any way you get to it's going to be very doable for the horses, and they've seen enough of these at this time that they're going to be able to handle that just fine as a nice question at the 4th fence.
So this for me is a very, very serious question. If you saw this in a 5-star, you wouldn't be surprised. It's a very, very big corner on the way in. The ground drops away a little bit. And then it's definitely a positive 3 down to this corner. And you are gonna have to take this corner on a little bit right to left. It's gonna be a little risky. I think we may see some horses sort of fiddle their way on 4. For my horse, he's a big striding, experienced horse. So I think you wanna arrive at that first corner very positive, get organized early, ride them forward to it so you land positively on the next side and you can make that 3 strides up so you can hold them into the line. But this is a true 4-star question, and I think it's going to get everybody thinking.
So it's still quite early on in the track, with this being fence 9, and you come off of quite a tight turn to the A element, and it's a nice big brush. I would almost treat that a little bit like a triple bar and press them right up to it so they jump up and land. And it walks in a 7 strides, but I'm not going to get hung up on the number. What I definitely will get hung up on here is not launching to the bottom of this leaf pit. You want them to hop off this mound as quietly as, this drop as quietly as possible. And then again, you don't know how they're going to jump off. You don't know what they're going to do across with the stone dust in the bottom. Are they going to jump it? So I'm not going to get fixated on a number, especially from B to C. Long reins, stay at the long reins, stay back behind them, and let them work their footwork out until I get to the top of the flat, and then press to the element. I am going to walk a number here, but I'm not going to be married to that number. So it walks in a nice 6, and I think the majority you'll see 6. I don't think you'll see a 5 across here, because that'd shoot you way out and you wouldn't be able to get the turn to D. But again, I'm not going to be married to that number. A element, think about it like a triple bar. Ride them right up to the base, let them jump up and around. Be patient to the B element, let them drop down. Long reins, position is really important that you stay long reins so they can use their head and neck with the change in elevation. Let them get up here, get up onto the flat ground, give them a nice ride to the C element, and then it's a nice 4 right there. I think the trick with the exercise is really thinking in slow motion, A to B, be quiet down through the valley. Once you're up on the flat, then you can press to the C element and then just bend right around in 4. If for some reason I get up onto the flat ground and I have my horse, ends up patting the ground, or I don't get the ride to the C element that I wanted, there's plenty of room to stay out and again do 5, 6, whatever you need to get the job done clean. But I really think the A element, take your time down, let them drop down off the B element. Don't be married to a number, get up onto the top, press to the C, and then I think the 4 will be right there. Position's really important. Long rein, stay back behind the rhythm so that you can keep the horse out in front of you and ride them on the line.
So we're approaching the coffin at 11 ABC. We've had a few good combinations in the 4-star long so far. I've jumped the leaf pit, then you gallop around, do an oxer, but there's a little bit of a downhill and a curve, right and left-hand turn as you approach the coffin. So it's going to be super important to get the horses organized early and on the line, squaring up through the turn. Need quite a bit of leg to get across the ditch here, and the rails are big enough in, so you're definitely going to want a forward ride to cover the one stride, get across the ditch. So keeping the energy and impulsion is going to be super important. Jumping across the ditch, being able to gather the horse, keep their legs moving, to stay committed in the 4 strides and be able to power up to the corner out. Should there be any issues, as there is a pretty big jump in, the ditch is big, the corner's big, there is an option to jump the roll top at A, then you would jump B, the ditch. Quite time consuming, but you'd have to go out to the right and come around from the back to jump the roll top at C.
This is jump 13AB on the 4-star track. It's sort of, you know, you've been out on the track for a little while, you've gotten into your rhythm. This is not the first water jump, it's the second water jump, so the horses have gotten their feet wet, which is good because this one's pretty tricky. So you will be feeling good that you know what your horse is going to do when they jump into a water. You jump this big log behind me, swing down, probably trying not to be too out of control. We've got this, which is a pretty substantial house. I think my horse is going to jump it very big in, and it has a drop on the backside, so I think all of us riders are going to be thinking pretty hard about trying to hold our position and not flop forward, especially since our next element is so close. Probably some of the riders will be jumping a little bit right of center or maybe in the middle, definitely not the left side. That would make it pretty hard. And then I'll walk the distance here and we'll sort of see what sort of striding it walks in. So it walks in sort of a bold 3 strides. I think probably some riders will think that their horses might cut in shallow and they'll sort of stay out and hold out for 4 strides. Maybe your really bold horses that have big ground covering strides will do it in 3. My horse tends to jump really careful into waters and land really steep, so I imagine that he actually would do 4 strides here. A lot of it's going to be riding off instinct and kind of feeling how your horse jumps in, getting your horse in over the first option. It's a right-hand corner, there's a right run out, so we'll all have to really be thinking about holding their shoulder up and getting them through that red flag, and not jumping too big over the first one and having trouble making a turn. There is a turn element there, so it's about rideability, control, and accuracy. I think it's one of the harder questions on the course, and certainly one of the harder questions for me, because my horse has, you know, I always have to be careful at a right corner with him. So I'm excited to give this one a try. And then there's another jump here behind it, a skinny brush. And it's the option for if you either A, have a run out at this corner, instead of having to try and reapproach that, which would be really hard in the water jump. You can swing, you can just sort of come back out of the water if you have a problem and pop over this skinny. The alternative is you could jump over the house and go around, not even present to the corner, and just do this skinny on its own. So I think Derek's probably designed it. Let's say you have a greener horse out on the course, or you haven't had you've had 2 sort of moments where the horse doesn't feel really good, and you think, you know what, I'm not going to do one of the hardest questions. I'm going to skip the corner, take it easy, and have a nice confidence building one here. and then go on with the course. It would be time consuming to do it, so you wouldn't do it if you were trying to be really competitive and make the time, but if you're trying to get around clear, he's designed it so that you can do the option without doing the corner, without incurring a 20 penalty first. So I think that's really nice for maybe some of the greener horses, or if your horse stumbles when you fall in, when you get in and you're like, I'm not gonna make it to that corner, you can come around to this one, which I really like. So I think it's a tough question, but a really good one.
So here we are at fence 17A. We are approximately 2/3 away around the course. So the horses have had some real good questions in the leaf pit, in the water fence, in the coffin, and now they've had a couple of run and jump fences to get their wind caught up, and they come here in front of the beautiful mansion. They have another run and jump fence in a table just coming over the road, and then they run up the hill and have a gap between the trees and the roping that they come in, and this is where riders are going to have to really gauge their horse and see how much horse they have left. They, if we're on a tired horse, are going to have to really balance, set up. We've got quite a narrow wedge here that they've got to make sure they're riding forward to, and it's an into space fence, so there's a braveness question that's coming into factor too. This far around the course, horses are usually on if they've made it this far. So I would expect the riders are going to be riding forward, probably planning, unless the horse is tired, and doing the direct route, which is down the hill from this skinny. They make a little bit of a curve and get lined up for the second skinny, making sure that they are as straight as possible. The way these are made and built, we can't really come in at a different angle. You have to be absolutely straight and hold the horses straight with your legs. I think any number of strides are going to happen in here. Part of it will depend on the weather. They're calling for quite a bit of rain. It depends on if we've gotten much before they go. The organizers have wonderfully moved the times up so that they get to go first. So there'll hopefully be a minimum of wet weather to affect the footing. So if the horses are sliding and the riders are feeling like they've maybe been a little too fast at the first, they have the option to go around to go to the skinny. It's a black flag, and do the second B that's a little further out and a little more forgiving in the turn. I think the first way will ride great as long as the riders have balanced at the top of the hill, ridden forward, and then keep the balance coming down the hill to the second skinny. The key is not to try and accelerate or make up time at a question like this. You keep riding forward down to it and you keep riding to it, but you don't try and start lengthening the distances coming to skinnies like this.
Hi, I'm at the last water, and I actually really like the look of it this year. This water historically has been like the dark pit of doom, and it's broken a lot of people's hearts in the years. I think once or twice it's broken mine, but I really like how they've laid it out this year. They've opened it up a lot. It's not used to have a lot more trees, used to be a bit smaller, and I really like this friendly jump coming in. Derek's built a beautiful palisade with a nice hedge there to get the horses up in the air. You know, the hedge is really one of the best things we could do safety-wise to help the horses jumping. So this is a beautiful jump going into the water, and then on the way out, he's giving you a bit of time to find your way, but we're going to come through the water here. I don't really have the right outfit for this, but this is how I do walk barefoot through water, so this is kind of normal. But we're gonna come here, and for me, I wouldn't really get caught up on a number because this is really far away. So I think you just gotta, you're near the end of a 4-star long, which means you do need to be a little bit more careful about making sure your horses are with you. The gallop can get a bit long, a bit downhill, a bit out behind as they get tired, and you might need to take an extra second to rebalance before you jump this. Then you're gonna close your leg and just get into the water. And then in my mind, the most important thing is in here is staying in balance and a nice power, and the line is going to be far more important than exactly how many steps you get. So we're going to go straight across here in balance. I kind of like being here because this 2-stride on the way out is quite, I think will ride quite open. So we're going to come a little bit closer to this tree, stay in balance. You've got to be careful when you're coming up these little lips coming out of water, because you might think you see a nice ride from the water, but every horse comes up the bank a little bit differently. You know, they might stumble, they might be a bit tired, or they might just decide to do this a bit, and you need to sort of see where you are, put your leg and get up here. You'd love to ride forward to this, right where this white flag, not white flag, flowers are, and line yourself up here. If you get a great shot here, this is a big table here. If you get a good shot here, you're going to be home free, but this is pretty open. I mean, absolutely right in front of you though, and the hedge there is also, you know, to help the horses get up in the air. And like I said before, that's the ideal ride across there. But you know, in cross-country riding, we do have to remember that if we have not the best jump at that little, you know, that little narrow there, it's totally okay to wiggle and box it and just get your way out. You know, you don't want to vomit over that and then fly to something that's not there, because then you're going to go past it. But ideally, you're going to jump in, keep your horse in balance, come up the lip, close your leg, jump this, go again in 2.
So here we are towards the end of the course, fences 22AB. This is headed towards home, and this is great cross-country course design because as you walk up to this, and you have come from up top of the hill, and you're end of the course, so we're talking there's probably a minute to get home. You are cruising down the hill. These are wonderful brush fences. They've got great ground lines, brush, the original frangible pin. This is such good course design because this becomes a question of how fast you want to go, right? Like this is about seconds, not necessarily about the jumps. There is no straight line here, right? You cannot line up these two fences. You can't see that, but there is, you jump this, you cannot, it looks like you're just gonna run into the edge of the second one. You're not seeing the face at all. But you'll be cruising down and you use your posture and you just stay back and you go as quickly as you want to over that brush. But then your job is to steer to the next brush. So the faster you want to go, the closer you want to get to that optimum time, the more narrow your approach can be, right? You're going to do less curve. You can also make this very, very easy for your horse. You can jump that, you can come out here, and then this is a preliminary fence, right? But that's going to take time. And so those seconds become precious at this sport, right? So this is just a question of how competitive you want to be, how steerable you and genuine you trust your horse to be. Horses tend to really jump these well, right? So I think it can make the riders a little bit too ambitious. So I do think you have to be very careful to hold your posture here and keep your horse on whatever line you decide to be on. And again, it comes down to how fast you want to go.